They chant it a lot in Japanese as the Sandokai. Maybe one day in my spare time, I'll learn it in Japanese. Um, but until that happens, I'll fumble through it in English. But it's a great lesson in non-duality, and it's a bit what I want to talk about tonight. So Myoto challenged me to use some koans to teach the Dharma. This came from a discussion that she and I had in our personal meetings, one-on-one meetings that we do. And we were discussing koans in general, and I said, I like using koans not as the Zen master method of, hey Tom, hey Marion, give me the sharp, pithy answer. That's not my style, at least not yet in my walk down the path. But I like diving deeply into the koan and seeing what it was the Zen master was really trying to get to. And I usually find there's much more there than just one finger. You chop my finger off. There's more there than just hand gestures. And I know why Zen masters are trying to shock someone out of their habitual way of thinking. But I think we can also take the stories of koans and dive deeply into them. So I'm going to take one or two tonight and discuss it with you in a way that I think teaches us the Dharma. And I hope that by looking deeply into it, it'll help you understand how a one word, a shout, a gesture might represent what's really being taught. So the first one I picked tonight is one that I find pretty slippery unless you really dive deeply into it. And so I'm going to challenge you, think while I read this back to the Sandokai, back to the harmony of relative and absolute that we just chanted. Because almost all Zen koans are related to what we just chanted. And it's important, and that's why we're going to talk about this one. So tonight I'm picking from the Wuman koan, the no gate gateway, the gateless barrier, has lots of different translations. But it may be some of the koans that you guys have worked on with your teachers in the past. So the first one I'm doing is Baizhang and the Wild Fox. So I'm going to read to you Baizhang and the Wild Fox. You may remember it, but it's a short story, and then we're going to talk about it. Every time Baizhang taught, there was an old man who followed the congregation to listen to Dharma talks. When the congregation dispersed, so would the old man. Unexpectedly, one day, this elderly man stayed behind, so Baizhang approached him. Who is it that stands before me? The old man said, I'm actually not human. In the time of ancient Buddha Kashyapa, when I was dwelling here on this very mountain, a student asked me, does a person of great practice still fall into cause and effect, or not? I replied that he does not fall into cause and effect. As a consequence, I have been condemned to be a fox for 500 rebirths. I now ask you, Master, for a turning phrase, so as to release me from being a wild fox. Then he asked, does a person of great practice still fall into cause and effect, or not? Baizhang said, he is not deluded about cause and effect. At these words, the old man was greatly awakened. He bowed in reverence and said, I have now shed this fox's body behind the other side of the mountain. Please, Master, give me a funeral service due to a dead monk. Baizhang ordered the rector to pound the gavel to summon the assembly and announce to them, "After we eat, we shall hold a funeral for a dead monk." The congregation was puzzled and began to discuss the matter amongst themselves. They went to the infirmary, but there was no one sick there. They wondered why Baizhang was acting like this. After the meal, Baizhang led the congregation to a cliff on the other side of the mountain, where he used his cane and dragged out the body of a dead fox from a crevice in the rocks. Then they formally cremated the body as they would a monk's. That night, Baizhang ascended up to the Dharma hall and related the full story of what happened. Huangbo then asked, "One wrong reply, and this old man was condemned to be a fox for 500 rebirths? If his reply had been correct, then what?" Baizhang said, "Come here and I'll tell you." Huangbo went up and gave Baizhang a good slap in the face. Baizhang clapped his hands and laughed and said, "I knew the Western barbarian's beard was red, but I didn't know that red was the beard of the barbarian." Wu Min's comment, because this is the Wu Min koan, remember, this is the collection of Wu Min's stories. Wu Min made a comment. Not falling into cause and effect. Why was he condemned to be a wild fox? Not being deluded about cause and effect. Why was he released from the fox's body? If you have the eyes of insight, then you will know why. Long ago, on Baizhang Mountain, the old man won for himself 500 lifetimes, flowing with the wind. And then he concludes with his gata, as he does almost all of his comments. Not falling, not deluded. Two faces of a single die. Not deluded, not falling. Tens of thousands of errors. Baizhang's wild fox. So he was a monk. Came to listen to Dharma Talks. One day he told Baizhang, "I was a monk. I made a certain comment about cause and effect," meaning karma, right? Cause and effect being karma. "And I've had 500 rebirths as a fox. What do you think?" Now, I'm not asking you to give me a pithy answer that a Zen master wants from you, but what's going on here? What did he say wrong? Do enlightened people still fall into the effects of karma?
Sure. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. So he said that they don't.
For him to say otherwise was a rather arrogant statement. You know.
Okay. So Baizhang, remember, and just to put this in a little bit of historical context, Baizhang's teacher was Matsu, and then Baizhang taught Huangbo, okay, and then Huangbo wound up teaching Linji, right? So we have this whole group of pretty crazy-minded guys who really have this idea of how to teach, how to shock people into awakening, right? So Baizhang's answer to that crazy old fox was, he is not deluded about cause and effect. It's important to know a couple of things here. In Chinese culture at this time, the fox was known to be a trickster, a shapeshifter, a bad omen, something a little bit like a witch's black cat we have in our kind of Western culture. So the fox here represents something tricky, right? Something ominous. So it was clearly symbolic. This fox was clearly symbolic, at least in Chinese cultural tale. Okay. Now I asked you early on, think back to the Sandokai, right? So in the Sandokai, when we chanted that, it talks about cause and effect, right? There's a verse in there about cause and effect. Here's something I want you to think about in this early part. First of all, let's think about what Baizhang meant when he says he is not deluded about cause and effect. Is he saying the same thing that the first guy said? The first teacher said, an enlightened person does not fall in to cause and effect. An enlightened person does not have karmic consequences. Baizhang says he is not deluded about cause and effect. Let me dive a little bit deeper here.
Well, was he saying that now? Was he saying that, in reference to before he was a fox 500 times or after he was a fox 500 times? I'd say that after he was a fox 500 times, he wouldn't be deluded about cause and effect anymore.
I think that's what Baizhang's trying to shock you out of, Marion. And here's why. Here's why. Let me ask you a quick, simple question. Monk and fox, same or different? Don't answer, just think about it. Monk and fox, same or different? Cause and effect, same or different? Student and teacher, same or different? Samsara and nirvana, same or different? This, just as the Sandokai, is a lesson about relative and absolute. This is a lesson about non-duality. And this master viewed the world as a duality, about cause and effect. And Baizhang says, don't be deluded about cause and effect. Then the monk woke up. Cause and effect is a dualistic approach to the world. Zen asks us to look past the dualism here. We see this again when, at the end of the day, Baizhang holds a meeting in the Dharma hall and he tells the whole story. And Huangbo walks up to him and slaps him. He says, "Come here and I'll tell you." And Huangbo walks up and slaps him. Student, teacher, duality. Who was the student? Who was the teacher? In between, we have the non-duality that's being taught. The slap was not an act of violence. The slap was an act of awakening. The slap was a shock to the soul, to the mind. And Baizhang knew that Huangbo got it. He knew so much that Huangbo got it that he made a comment about the red beard of the barbarian. And when he made the comment about the red beard of the barbarian, he was comparing the awakening of Bodhidharma to himself and the awakening of Huangbo to Bodhidharma. And he was saying, I knew one had a red beard. I didn't know the other one had a red beard. He's saying, you got it, Huangbo. You got it. And that's why he laughed with him. And yet he phrased this in a way that makes us think deeper. It's not as simple as a learned response we may have with our Zen master, where they ask you the final question and you slap him or her. And that's your response. That might be the right Zen master response, but do you understand where that's coming from? It's coming from a total deconstruction of the idea that there are labels. That there's a label of teacher and student. Zen is an understanding without labels. Zen is an understanding of this non-duality that we're learning here from Baizhang's fox. It's easy to look at this and be confused. This is a slippery koan here, unless you dive deeply into the constant dualistic nature that Woman is pointing out to us. And we get that often when you're looking at these Woman koans. Look at his gata, because Woman got it. He understood. What does he do? He gives us a pair in the very beginning. Not falling, not deluded. There's your pair. Are you deluded? Are you falling? Cause, effect. Fox, monk. Birth, death. Teacher, student. Baizhang would have looked at this birth and death recycle of monk, fox, or fox, as just a part of the nature. Duality. That's duality. Look between it. Look deeper than the duality. Birth and death. It's not about birth and death. It's about an inso circle. It's about a circle of existence. As I've liked to think recently, the circle of an inso, it's not a stop sign. It's not even a period. It's just representative of the whole entire circle of the Dharma. Non-duality. That's what Baizhang's Wild Fox is about. And when you understand that, then you might understand why Huangbo slapped his teacher. And why we have this little riddle at the end about, I knew the barbarian's beard was red, but I didn't know that red was the beard of the barbarian. It sounds like a riddle, but it's an awakening. So, while your Zen teacher may or may not rub their beard looking for an answer that you're going to say something about a beard, it's deeper than that. And that's what they're trying to shock you out of. Maybe one of us has a beard and one of us doesn't have a beard. We've just created a duality that doesn't have to be there. If I'm sitting with Miyoto, obviously, she's a woman, she doesn't have a beard, and I do. Is that a duality that we're looking for in the discussion here? Is that the lesson that's being taught? Clearly not. Because that's a line of distinction. And what Baizhang is looking for is to deconstruct the distinction. So I'm going to give you another one that's very similar. You might not think it's similar, but if you look at it in a manner of non-duality, then you'll see how similar it is. So if I can get to my page here. Here we go. So this one is called Not the Wind, Not the Flag. Once the sixth ancestor, Hui Neng, saw the temple flag fluttering in the wind and two monks arguing with each other about it. One said, "The wind is blowing." "The flag is moving," said the other. They argued back and forth without reaching the truth. The ancestor told them, "It's not the flag moving. It's not the wind moving. It's your mind that's moving." The two monks were startled. Woman's comment. It's neither the flag moving, nor the wind, nor the mind that's moving. Where will you see the ancestor? If you can perceive this truth immediately here, then you will realize that the two monks bought iron, but instead got gold. They bought iron, but instead received gold. The ancestor could not refrain from laughing, and so this farce. Wind, flag, the mind moving. All of them miss the mark. Although they know how to open their mouths, they do not know where the words fall. So what was moving? The flag or the wind? Again, cause and effect. And they're arguing about cause and effect. Hui Neng walks up to them and says, this whole dualistic thinking of cause and effect is in your mind, and that's what's moving. Stop moving your mind, you'll stop worrying about cause and effect. A very short, the first one was long, right? We talked about Baizhang's wild fox, and it took me 5 minutes to read you the story. And this one is a 30-second story. And yet the lesson is the same. We're presented with two apparent opposites. Cause, effect. The wind causes the flag to wave. And they're arguing about which one causes the other one. Which one is the result of the other one. And Hui Neng is trying to teach them, look past the cause and effect. Accept it. It just is. Your mind is discriminating. Stop discriminating. You see, there's a constant theme through these koans. Don't just look at them as, I'm sitting here and my teacher asks me so what was moving? The wind or the flag? And what am I supposed to do? You know, depending on your Zen teacher, there may be another answer, but maybe you blow at them. Maybe you wave. Maybe you say the sky is blue. Pithy short answers, but do you understand what the answer is you're really trying to convey? These koans are not designed simply to elicit a pithy answer from you. They are designed to make you see past labels. They're designed to make you see past the relative and the absolute and see it all as a big circle. See it all as a completeness. I see I'm out of time, so I'm not going to go to the third one. I'll challenge you to think about the third one, though. There's another one, also in the No Gate Gateway here, about Ananda going to see Mahakashapa, and he asks him, "Did the Buddha leave you anything else besides that beautiful golden robe?" And Mahakashapa tells him, "Go tear down the flagpole." The flagpole, when the flag is up, was a symbol of, we're going to have a Dharma talk tonight. But he said, go tear it down. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to challenge you. Think about that. Ananda says, did the Buddha give you anything more than a robe? And Mahakashapa says, we're not having a Dharma talk tonight. That's what he said when he said, go tear down the flagpole. He says, we're not having a Dharma talk tonight. Think about it. And now, think about it maybe over the next week. What's the non-dual nature of this story? Why do I want to put a label on something when the story's trying to get me to drop labels? So that's my challenge to you. Something to think about.